Okay, here I'm going to look at a data logger that is installed at my home office, which is in Boulder, Colorado. And here we're in Mountain Daylight Time right now, which is UTC -6. Tomorrow we're going to be switching to Standard Time, which is UTC -7. But right now we're in Daylight Time, UTC -6. This server where I'm running LoggerNet is set to UTC, which is 9:07 p.m. Right now it's 3:07 p.m. local time where I am and where the data logger is. So we'll take a look at the setup. All right. So the logger that we're looking at is this one, MOH. And if we go to clock, the time zone offset is -6. So I have it set to be the data logger clock is on local time right now. All right. So 3:08 Mountain Daylight Time. Okay. Now, if we connect, the table that is that I'm displaying in Eagleio is called the per scan table. It runs on a 20-second scan, so it's recording the data every 20 seconds. So if we look at that, you can see the timestamp that keeps updating every 20 seconds is 3:08 and 40 seconds p.m. and that is Mountain Daylight Time. Again, UTC -6. All right. And then just to verify, if we look at the data files for that station, so the per scan table, the most recent timestamp is 3:09 p.m. All right, so everything looks good here. And you can see the timestamp for the date modified is 9:09 p.m., which is the UTC set on this Microsoft Azure server. All right, so I'm going to close out of that and then open up Eagle.io. And in Eagle.io, I've set the, well, this station here is under private residences, my residence, and then, okay. So here we have, I'm only recording the data from the per scan table in Eagle.io. These other tables here are meant for just for display purposes in the RTMC Pro screens that I have. So per scan, and this, by the way, is it crashes often. So when I'm changing the settings for the parameters in the per scan table, a lot of times I'll get a timeout error in the browser, and instead of killing the process, I just say wait. And then, but sometimes it takes a couple timeout warnings for it to actually work. We might see that here. So I've already clicked on per scan, but it's doing its thing. Okay, so page unresponsive. All right, and I'll say wait, and sometimes it'll open here, and sometimes it'll just keep going until it happens again. And I don't know why this is. Maybe because I have a lot of I don't know if it's because of the resolution of the data is 20 seconds or if I just have a lot of variables. But you can see here that these are all the things that I'm actually permanently recording. The public variables, I have a lot more public variables, most of which I'm not recording in a data table. But there's like maybe 1,000 at least. A lot of it is variables being populated by several Modbus Watt nodes, which have about 150 registers or so that are being reported in the public variables. Well, it looks like I'm stuck here again. Okay, we'll say wait. But when I open up this list here, you're going to see that I don't have any of the public variables checked. So in Eagleio, I'm only storing the data from the per scan table, which is a 20-second interval, and I'm recording all those parameters in the data table, or in the per scan table. All right, so these are all the public variables, and they're not checked. All right, so I'm going to go back to per scan. In fact, I'm going to cancel out of this because it keeps freezing up. And then I'm going to go into, I'm going to cancel out of the screen and then go into the settings for the data source. All right, and this is all working fine. I'm going to skip that because that could freeze up. So if I go to time, I have it set to mountain time for time zone, and then I have the checkbox checked for the daylight savings time setting, and I'm not having Eagleio correct the time on the data logger. All right, so my understanding based on Jesse's recent reply to my post on the forum is that by checking this box, what will happen is that the timestamps that are, all right, I'm actually going to go and open up his post. All right, the automatically adjusts clock for daylight savings time checkbox indicates if we will take daylight saving time into account when converting record timestamps from the data logger time zone into UTC. So if your logger time zone is set to mountain time, which it is, and then during daylight savings time, which it is right now, we know that any record timestamps need 6 hours added to get UTC timestamps. Okay, so that's the case that I have because all my records from the data loggers have a timestamp in UTC -6, which is mountain daylight time. And then starting tomorrow, you'll need to add 7 hours. All right, so that's why I've checked this box so that Eagleio knows that all my timestamps from the logger are daylight savings time, and so therefore it's UTC +6 that has to be added to get to UTC. Sorry, 6 hours need to be added to get to UTC. And then starting tomorrow, it'll be 7 that have to be added. All right. So all that sounds good. And then now, in order to not confuse myself further, I went into my user profile, and I'm choosing to view the data throughout Eagleio in UTC, and I'm ignoring daylight savings time, so fixed UTC offset of 0. So everything I see in Eagleio, my understanding is that I should see everything in UTC. But what you can see here is that the latest data record collected from the logger is 2250, so 10:15 p.m. UTC. But this is my computer, which is in my home office, and it's set to Mountain Daylight Time, 3:16 p.m. All right, so 6 hours, so that's 1500 plus 6 should be 2116. So 9:16 p.m. is UTC, but I'm seeing 10:15 p.m. in Eagleio. So I don't know if I could be misunderstanding something or there could be a bug, but that's the discrepancy I'm seeing, is that all these timestamps seem to be an hour ahead. And if we look at some data here, so if I go to the outside temperature, latest data is 2215. Again, it should be 2115. But something I noticed earlier, let's see if it still shows up this way. If I look at a chart, you'll see that it does report 2100. So the chart seems to be correct. If I zoom in here, we'll get a better look at that. So 2118, which is correct. All right, so I'm not sure why the timestamps seem to be correct in charts, but not in this view here. And if we look at table view, so 2215, okay, so this looks incorrect here in the table. And if I go to chart, '21. Okay. Now another thing I noticed is if I switch from the default 7 days to 24 hours view, now it's only showing the data up to 3:18 p.m. So it's like it switched from UTC back to Mountain Daylight for some reason. And now if I go back to the view that we had before, 7-day view, I believe it's going to be incorrect again. Yeah, so it's going to say 1519. So if I close out of this and then open up the default view, 7-day view, it's going to be the let's see, 21. Let me just make sure I'm all the way over. Okay, so 2119. That's correct, but then if let's just do 3 days and then go right back to 7 days. Now it's 1519. So it seems to switch for some reason. So I guess that's all I wanted to show. So there's 3 things going on that I'm having trouble with. Number one is that I keep getting the JavaScript timeouts or the browser timeouts when I'm doing configurations. And then the next thing is that the time seems to be off by 1 hour. It seems to be 1 hour too much in the table view, in really any view except for charts. And then also inside the charts, the time seems to shift between local time and then UTC for some reason. Another thing that I've noticed, which I'm not sure if I can replicate here, let me see. If I check this and go to historical data, all right, so it is showing up here. But a lot of times it, when I try to load a chart, it will just keep loading and loading, and it never appears. It kind of, I haven't figured out the pattern yet, but it kind of depends on how I'm accessing the chart. Let me just try one more thing here. Let's try to access it this way. So I have it collecting data on a 5-minute interval. All right. Temperature outside. Let's access the chart. Okay, well, it does seem to be loading fine now. Let me do it this way again. Let me go chart. All right, well, it seems to be loading fine, but I do have this problem where it just continues loading, and it never loads until I kind of change the way that I access the chart. So those are some issues I'm having, and I figured it was easier to post a short video instead of trying to explain this in a forum post or an email. And I'll post this link to the forum. All right, thank you.